Now, over 10 years ago, back in 2015, there was a 17-year-old kid from Atlanta who made the entire world dance with a song called Watch Me Whip. It was independently uploaded to the internet, and within months, it became one of the fastest growing viral records of the decade. It was everywhere, on Facebook, YouTube, Vine, which was basically the original TikTok before TikTok even existed. You name it. You simply couldn't escape it. Silentó was everywhere. However, just a few years later, that same teenage viral star, the kid who had the whole internet dancing, would find himself in a place nobody could have ever predicted. Behind bars, charged with murdering his own cousin. What really happened to Silentó, and how does someone go from being the soundtrack to millions of childhood memories to one of the darkest headlines of the decade? Let's dive into the history together, starting with the night that changed everything. On January 21st, 2021, at around 3:30 in the morning, officers were called to Deep Shoal Circle in DeKalb County, Georgia. According to the police report, a man called 911 after his daughter, who lived nearby, said she heard gunshots and saw a body lying in the street. When officers arrived, they found a man in his 30s, dead in the road with multiple gunshot wounds. He was later identified as 34-year-old Frederick Rooks, who had been shot in the face and leg and was pronounced dead at the scene. Detectives found 10 shell casings scattered near his body. At that point, there was no suspect, no motive, nothing. Just a body in the middle of the street and the echo of gunfire caught on nearby home surveillance cameras. Police canvassed the neighborhood and obtained Ring video footage from several homes. The video showed a white BMW SUV speeding away from the area shortly after the shots were fired. Investigators kept digging, and just 10 days later, they closed in on somebody nobody expected. Ricky Hawk, better known to the world as Silentó. According to police, Silentó confessed roughly 10 days after his arrest. Ballistics testing later confirmed that the shell casings found at the scene matched a gun in his possession when he was taken into custody. The DeKalb County Police Department said in a statement, after a thorough investigation, detectives identified Hawk as Rook's cousin and the person responsible for Rook's murder. Investigators are still working to uncover the motive for the shooting. On February 1st, 2021, Silentó was arrested and booked into the DeKalb County Jail and charged with murder. Court records listed multiple warrants and felony counts, including malice murder and aggravated assault, all tied to the January 21st murder. The story made national headlines, and the question quickly went to why? How did the same person behind one of the most joyful viral moments of the 2010s end up here? Now, years before this tragedy even happened, Silentó was already battling a long list of personal and mental health struggles. Back in 2020, his career had taken a sharp turn, and so had his behavior. That year alone, he was arrested twice in the span of just 2 days in Los Angeles and Orange County. According to police, he was first arrested in Santa Ana after a domestic disturbance involving his girlfriend. He was booked and released on a charge of inflicting corporal injury on a cohabitant. But just 1 day later, things got even more alarming. Silentó reportedly went to a random home in Valley Village while wielding a hatchet looking for his girlfriend. He entered the stranger's home while a family and their children were inside. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the incident left everyone shaken. He was arrested by Los Angeles police officers a block away and charged with 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon. Silentó, who once went viral in 2015 with Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Nae Nae, seemed to be spiraling mentally and emotionally. What started as a story about a teenage dance sensation was slowly turning into a cautionary tale. By late 2020, his behavior had become increasingly erratic. In October of that year, just weeks after his previous arrest, he was pulled over in Atlanta after being clocked driving 143 miles per hour in a 65 zone. For my international viewers, that's over 230 kilometers an hour, more than double the legal limit. According to the police report, when officers stopped him, he explained that he was speeding because people were following him everywhere he went. He said he had just left a club and was trying to get away. Silentó was taken into the DeKalb County Jail and charged with reckless driving, speeding, failure to maintain a lane, and improper stopping. Body cam footage later released from Nae Nae shows him calm at first, but clearly paranoid, repeating that people were watching and following him.
Why are you doing 143?
Because I'm coming from Gwinnett and people be following me.
You're doing 143 miles per hour?
Because people be following me everywhere I go.
Okay,
and
so
I can vouch for what I'm saying.
So that gives you the right to do 143?
No, I'm not doing 100. I wasn't doing 103. Can you show me your calibration log where I was doing 143? Let me out. I know my laws and I know how the law works. Because I done been through this so many times with y'all.
Sir,
I said somebody was following me.
Sir,
you can't do that.
Sir.
You came up to me being disrespectful, talking about some own recording. You recording with the government how they use the satellite and they follow everywhere I go. Do you know about that? No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't know about how Donald Trump sent me messages on my phone every day.
He was released on bond shortly after, but by this point it was obvious something was seriously wrong. his run-ins with the law were starting to look less like isolated incidents and more like signs of deeper mental struggle. About a year and a half before all this, Silentó had opened up publicly about his mental health spiraling out of control. In 2019, he appeared on The Doctors and talked about his lifelong struggle with mental health. He revealed that when he was born, there were drugs in his system, marijuana, cocaine, heroin, pills, and that he grew up surrounded by violence and trauma. He said he grew up watching family members fight, talk to walls, and even try to kill each other. Silentó also stated that he'd battled depression since childhood, was given ADHD and sleeping pills as a kid, and that things only got worse when he became famous. Pressure doesn't leave you when you become famous, he said on the show. It just adds more pressure. And while everybody's looking at you, they're also judging you.
I have felt like I've been depressed my whole life. When I was 14, I ended up moving with my great aunt. From there, it just went downhill. I ended up going to a school with no friends. I almost got into 5 fights the first week. I was given ADHD for meds, sleeping pills. I was getting skinny. I was getting stressed.
After his 2021 arrest, his publicist confirmed that his struggles had been ongoing. She told XXL that Silentó had tried to unalive himself during the pandemic and that many of his outbursts came during bipolar episodes. She said people cared when he ran into the house, but they didn't know he was mentally breaking down. No one knew what he was going through. The statement wasn't made to excuse what happened, but to humanize Silentó. His team described him as a beautiful soul who'd been suffering for years. Now, Silentó's mental health was a big consideration in the case. Since he had a long, documented history of psychological struggles, it was something the defense emphasized heavily during court, and ultimately, it played a role in how his sentence was determined. No motive was ever shared. The DA's office laid out what they could, but what actually happened between the two cousins that morning still isn't something the public's been told. What we do know is this: Frederick Rooks was picked up by Silentó from a friend's home earlier that night. The white BMW SUV was seen on camera around 2:45 a.m., and GPS data placed the same vehicle at the scene of the murder. Officers arrived about an hour later, just after 3:30 a.m., to an intersection in the Panthersville area of DeKalb County, where they found Silentó's cousin with multiple GSWs, gunshot wounds, and what happened after that is exactly what we know. By mid-2025, the case finally reached its conclusion. On June 11th, 2025, Ricky Lamar Hawk, known to the world as Silentó, pleaded guilty, but mentally ill to voluntary manslaughter, aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime. In court, prosecutors said the evidence was overwhelming. Ballistic testing confirmed that the shell casings found near his cousin's body matched a gun Silentó had when he was arrested, and during questioning, Silentó admitted to firing the shots himself. The judge accepted a plea deal that Silentó struck and sentenced him to 30 years in prison, giving him credit for the 4 years he'd already spent in custody awaiting trial. According to the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office, Silentó had picked up his cousin from a friend's home earlier that night. Just an hour later, surveillance footage showed the BMW speeding away from Deep Shoal Circle, moments before officers arrived to find his body dead in the street. The original malice murder charge from his indictment was reduced as part of the plea deal. Prosecutors also dropped one felony murder count after his defense team entered a guilty but mentally ill plea, a legal acknowledgement that, although he was suffering from mental illness, he still understood his actions. And his attorney Keith Adams told Billboard this was the first time since his arrest that Silentó was fully aware of what had happened. He'd been dealing with mental illness since the age of 12, his lawyer said. It's unfortunate that it ended that way, but we think the outcome is appropriate and we look forward to continued improvement in his mental health. It was a tragic ending to one of the most viral stories of the 2010s. A young artist who once made the world dance, now serving 3 decades in prison for taking the life of his own cousin. Silentó's decline in mental health, like he once admitted himself, was amplified by fame. He blew up at just 17 years old. Overnight, he had money, attention, and a lifestyle most young people never experience. But he also had demons he'd been fighting since childhood, and that kind of fame only made them louder. Even after everything that's come out in court, what exactly happened that night has never really been revealed, and why he did it. Was it an argument that spiraled out of control or something deeper? That's something we'll probably never know. But what is clear is that his story highlights how quickly fame can become a curse, especially when it hits you before you're mentally ready for it. I mean, imagine going from being a regular teenager to suddenly having millions of people watching your every move at just 17 years old. It's a lot to handle, right? And a lot of people aren't built for that. They don't have the foundation, the right mindset, the right guidance, or even the right people around them. And when you mix that kind of pressure with unaddressed mental health issues, it can turn dangerous fast. I don't know what role drugs may or may have not played in his case, but it's clear that mentally he was struggling. And if you don't have the right support system in place, the spotlight can go from a blessing to a very, very, very dark curse. Now fast forward to this summer 2025, 2 weeks after he entered his guilty plea and officially began serving his 30-year sentence. A recent mugshot of Silentó was released to the public, and if you're looking at the screen right now, you're seeing it, and as you can see, he looks completely unrecognizable. I don't know if it's the shaved head, the weight gain, or just the toll of everything he's been through, but he looks like he's aged 2 decades in just a few years. If anything, let this be a reminder that the spotlight can build you up fast, but it can destroy you even faster. I mean, the contrast between where he was and where he is now, absolutely unreal. It's generally sad how dark of a turn his story took, going from being one of the most viral faces on the internet to losing everything, his career, his freedom, and his peace of mind. That's crazy, man. But at the same time, we can't ignore the fact that he took the life of another human being, his own cousin at that. If you make the wrong decisions, life can flip on you fast. But I'm curious what you guys think about this whole Silentó story. Drop a like on this video if you made it this far. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.